Now do we have sound? We good? Oh, come on, man, Ricky Clark. My dog can hear him. Oh, perfect. Now you can hear me. Good. Sorry about that. I think Jeepers Creepers, sweet baby Jesus. Oh, my. That's what my week has been like. We'll just put it that way. I got these fancy mics and I forgot you have to pair them. And I forgot to put them in the dumb thing over here and pair them up. So, well, now I am glad that we have sound. So, as Pamela was saying, and well, asked how my day was, and I said something, but it didn't work. I actually went up, I don't know, wandered all around today and took photos. So, well, I'm glad I have sound now. So, hopefully now the screen sharing works. I had issues with that this morning, so wouldn't that be icing on the cake? So, we might as well get started here. So I thought tonight I would talk about 5 things that are totally Lightroom essentials. Oh, all my text is in reverse. Yeah, I forgot to switch that. I could probably fix that real quick. I'm just a hot mess tonight. There we are. Oh, Ricky says I got to see him, so it was a good day. Yeah, he's borrowing my gear. So, but I guess Ricky's a lucky man because I don't just let anybody borrow my stuff. So I know where to find him. But nope, I got up this morning at 5 and went and did some photos and then all around looking for fall color. And then I saw Ricky and then I had a family session in Dubuque. Then I got stuck in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru for a half hour. So I was lucky I made it back. So tonight I will jump back to what I was talking about before, which was 5 Lightroom essential tips. I'm not going to say that these are like, wall bangers or anything, and you guys are going to get like, whoa, I didn't know about that. But it's just kind of my take on things, and I think 5 things you should know. So hopefully my screen sharing works here this evening. And I'm going to bring up my Lightroom first. So hopefully everyone can see this. I'm going to drag this over to the left just a second. Can everybody see my screen? Somebody can comment and then. Lightroom Classic. Good point, Ricky. So can somebody comment if they see my screen? That would be awesome. I just want to make sure before I get into this spiel. Classic is good. Yes, okay, perfect. So the big thing that I would say, number 1, and you may or may not know this, but a lot of people, I get this question like 18 million times a year, literally, where people are like, I got all these little explanation points. What does that mean? And it says photo can't be found. Well, usually that means one thing. Lightroom is very, very good about remembering photos in spot A. I can see it in A. Here's my screen. And the problem is if you go willy-nilly cleaning up the computer and you start deleting stuff or you move stuff, it breaks that little path where Lightroom has a tendency to find where it needs to find it. So I always tell people you should know where your Lightroom is. Now, the way to understand Lightroom is it's a non-destructive software. It's not changing your original JPEG or RAW files. So when you probably installed Lightroom, you did the old clickety click, 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 next, 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 and you don't read anything like I do. Well, usually what that will do is it's going to ask you in one of those nexts that you probably skipped over, or hopefully you read it, and it'll say, where do you want your Lightroom catalog and photos to go? And usually it will pick the pictures folder. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it here, but I'm going to show you if you go up here to File. I am on a Mac, so all you non-Macy people, I apologize. This is how I roll. If I remember right, let's go Lightroom Classic Preferences. And if I go up to General, I think, or one of these, I apologize, I cannot see across the room. External Editing Presets, General. There there usually is a spot here that will tell you where your catalog is. More than likely, everybody's catalog is located somewhere where you don't think it is. Oh, catalog settings, they probably changed it. There we go, they did. So the location for me says it is on the pictures folder, user, my name, pictures. That's where things are, that's where the catalog is. Now, where your actual photos go is a completely another story. So if I go up in here to library and I'm going to import, I can select my source. Obviously, it should be a camera, memory card, whatever it pops up to. And then over here, so the catalog has your edits in it. Wherever you decide that these go, which these are normally sent to the same folder as the pictures folder, but I have mine on an external hard drive. Some people argue that is the way to do it, not to do it. It is what it is, but we could argue that all night. But mine goes to right up here and it goes to an external hard drive. That's where all the photos when I import go. So know where your photos go, because what happens is a lot of people don't know where they go and they start cleaning things up, they start deleting things, and then if you delete those original photos, poof, they're gone, you can't find it. So Lightroom's like, okay, I have the edit and the catalog, but I can't find the original photo to start connecting these little bridges together to find things. And I don't think I have, well, I shouldn't have any in my Lightroom catalog. But if you got questions, just pop them up here. I'm going to try to keep my chat visible, oops, over to the right as much as I can. I am a hot mess tonight. There we are. And we will go through there. I mean, that's number one, I think, because I get a lot of people, I mean, literally people have paid me to sit at a coffee shop before and find all their photos and link them back together. It's not fun, to be honest. When you have to go back and find everything, I let Lightroom just do its thing. When I import, I do not go over here. Some people get all crazy. They start going into these, where are they at? You know, they're not their catalog, but they're, to the left side here. I can't remember what it's called. Their folders into the hard drive. They start moving these things all around, and that's how they organize, like these. Lightroom figures this is everything by date. I don't remember by date. I'm going to have a tip here at the end on how I remember my photos, but Lightroom does it by date. I don't remember by date. That's fine. I don't care. What I can do is go in and find them in a different way that I do. And that's just the way I kind of like to do it. So, do you need more coffee, or is that the problem? You had too much coffee today. You're doing great. Thank you, Don. No, I just been a hot mess this week. I forgot to take my meds yesterday too, which probably didn't help, but long story. But yes, it's just one of those weeks. But I've been up since 5 too, since I decided to go. I think as Connie calls it, cottywomple kind of thing. I probably mispronounced that word, but oh well. So that's number one, just knowing where your stuff is, because I think if you start moving, deleting, then things get messy. I like to work off one catalog. Some people do multiple catalogs. I don't see the point in that, because you have to disconnect and connect catalogs, and I don't like disconnecting and connecting anything with Lightroom. I just leave it be. So right now I actually do have, well, in theory, I have 2 computers. I've got the one that I used to use upstairs, which was the family computer for ages. And then, I don't know, last year, I went and bought a whole Mac setup for the business that I only use for business stuff. So I've got some stuff that I bet you I've got like 98,000 photos on the computer upstairs. And I don't even know what I have in this current catalog. Let's look. 24,232, I think. I don't know. That's really not a lot, but oh no, sorry, 2,004. See, I can't see with my glasses this far away. Oh well, just another thing. But knowing where your stuff is, you know, I'm gonna probably this winter take everything off the computer upstairs, that's final edited image, and just bring them down here and import them in so I have those. But I think knowing where everything goes is super, super, super important, because I've seen so many people, they don't know where it is, and they delete, 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 and before you know it, it's gone, 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 and you have nothing to show. I mean, it's all gone. You got to start over in some way. But the other thing too is backup. I mean, no one is backing up photos. I don't back up every photo I take, but I do back up my final edits. So let's get on to kind of the editing side of Lightroom and tips. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but I think one thing is there's a thing called global adjustments and local adjustments. Too many people think globally overall. So what does that mean? Well, globally means everything in my world, and local means, you know, like local, smaller areas. So what I like to do, I don't know, let's look in here. I tried to pull some images aside this evening, but I don't know if any of these will work. You know what? Not really. So let's go to this catalog of all 8 bajillion photographs, and you're going to see all my exposure or crappy exposures. So let's see. So I'm in library mode right now. It shows me everything. I'm just looking at a grid of everything. Family photos that I did recently. I don't know. Some state fair stuff. It's all kind of a hot mess of stuff. Trying to find something I can think of at the top of my head that I could work on and explain. Let's scroll all the way. It's amazing, out of all these photos, I know what I'm looking for and where. Here we are. So let's look for, now we're in the glacier. Something that I could, you know what? What's this one? Let's do this one, a waterfall. Why not? So, oh, your filing is making me cringe so hard, but you do you. That's okay. I got a different way I actually file. I just let it do its thing, and then I'll show you that in a little bit, Ricky. So, like, let's go into our Develop tab. So for the people who aren't super familiar with Lightroom, you've got your Library tab, your Develop. The library is like where everything's stored. And since you have your Develop tab, it's all your editing stuff. You got the Basic panel right here. So it's your basic adjustments. So we're going to work all in the basic adjustment panels this evening because I'm not going to go into anything else. But so when I talk about globally versus local adjustments is like, let's say I think for some ungodly reason this is too bright. And I take my exposure to the left and darken it up. That's a global adjustment. I am changing exposure on the entire image. I'm making it brighter or I'm making it darker. Fun little tip, double click the word and it'll take you back to 0 each time. So that's a global adjustment. That's where you're changing the whole things. But let's say for some reason in this image, let's say I think that the water is too bright and I want to take it down. Well, I'm going to talk about these tools in a minute, but up here, I can go into, oops, wrong one, to masks, or I can just select certain areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the brush, and here's my brush. So let's say I have this waterfall I think is too bright, and I have to think here. Let's see, Command, let's see if that does it. There we are. I hit Command O again. Okay, there it's doing it. So you'll see Command O is giving me an overlay. So you'll see this red. That means I'm painting this in. And this is going to allow me to select just this area. And I can shrink. I'm actually shrinking my brush down with a little spinny doohickey on my mouse. This is a very down and dirty method. Usually not this wretched with it, but. So let's say that. So that all that little red there shows me where I'm going to make an adjustment. So I hit Command O again on my Mac. It makes it disappear. Now I'm making a local adjustment. So now I can go in here and darken just the water, or I can brighten it up. So like, let's say I want to make it brighter, but I can do any of these. I can add contrast or change just the highlights in the water, or I can go in and if there's any shadowy area, I can mess with just those, or I can take the whites up or down, however I wish. I can add clarity. I can dehaze the water. I wouldn't probably do that normally, but I'll double click and we'll reset all these. So that is a, globally versus a local adjustments for me. I mean, you can, I'm gonna click that and delete that. There we are. It's gone. So, I mean, that's one of those things is, I think, Ben Ford, feed us all the shortcuts. Oh, that's funny, Ben. Actually, that's about the only shortcut I use, to be honest. Command O. Oh, and Command Z, because I go back a lot. Or I take toggle things, I shut it off. So yes, I don't know all the shortcuts, but I mean, that's the big thing. And you can do these. I work a lot locally because I think you can start like, I don't know, let's per se here. I can actually start combining multiple things together if I want, but I don't want anybody's head to spin today. Lightroom is actually, well, I won't go into that because I'm going to talk about that a little bit, masking. So let's go in here. Let's find something else that I can come down here. If you click this little grid down here, it'll pop up all your grids. Or your grid back to see all your photos in grid format. So if you're just tuning in, I don't know if you missed it, but I said you could see all my really crappy exposures, but that's okay. Let's see. You guys are probably getting to see images that no one will ever get to see because I don't like them. To be honest. Let's see. Let's find something else. Yeah, this one, I don't know. Let's do this one just because we can. So when you get into like global adjustments versus local adjustments, I said a lot, I work in local adjustments a lot. The other thing that I can do too is actually, let's go to this one. Yes, mountains. Let's just cheat. I'm not going to call it cheating. I'm going to click auto and see what it does. There we are. Don't like it. But there are other things you can do in this same form is when you click that masking tool, which I'll talk about more in a minute, but you had the brush. Let's just get into masking because we can. Tip number 3, right? Yes, masking. That's on my list this evening. Is you've got brushes where, I can make a local adjustment. Let's say, I think this will actually, yeah. Let's do this first because this is annoying me. There we are. I took out. It's gone. No more crap in the bottom. I'm just going to zoom in here real quick so I can see. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, there we are. That's why. There we are. So let's say for some weird reason, I want to just, this cloud here, I want to make it brighter. So I can go in and take this little brush again and Command O so I can paint it in here. Let's say I want to make this brighter, and I don't know, I just feel like going to whites to make this brighter. So there's that. I made that brighter. I do use Enter a lot. So let's go back. I'm going to make this fit screen. So now I've got that brighter. But let's say, I love the dehaze tool. That's one of my favorite tools because I'll show you dehaze because right through here, there's more details in these clouds than we think. But what's cool is, like, let's say we don't want to affect the mountains with a global adjustment. We're going to do a local adjustment. So I'm going to go into here, whoops, and go back. Oh, that's why. I'm going to add a new one. So with the new masking tools, I can do a couple ways. Let's say I want to change just the sky. This is what I love about new Lightroom. Connie says Control plus used in each module provide shortcuts for that specific module. Didn't know that. See, good to know. Thank you, Connie. So, like, let's say I want to select just the sky, but I don't want to go in here and paint it, or I don't want to use maybe the graduated filter that's up here that I can click. This is called the linear gradient. I can drag this. This would probably be the quickest way. But let's say for some ungodly reason I want to do that. There's a new thing where you click, and I'm going to select sky. Well, I'm not going to. It's going to. See, look at that. It just selected the sky for me. Didn't have to do anything at all. So I'm going to come down here to my favorite tool slider dehaze. And look at that. That's probably taken a little too far, but I'm just showing you how far you can see. Look, all the detail in the sky. It wasn't there. All based off of dehaze, but let's back that off a little bit. Ooh. So like, let's say that's where we wanted it. Now what I might do is I can go in here and add a brush. And let's say I just want to affect the highlights. I want to make the highlights brighter. I can start making local adjustments now and change just my highlights. There's a dust spot. Highlights wasn't probably a good choice. Let's do this. Let's bring up my exposure a little bit. There you are. I'm going to take it way up there so you can see it. We would never push it that far. But so you can see where I can now start. You can almost like sculpt things. Like let's say I want these mountains to be a little less dark or a little darker. I can go in here. I'm going to add another brush. And you'll see all these masks are right up here. So this mask down here is for our cloud. See when I hover over it, it shows which one. There's the gradient in the middle there. And then there is the one I just did with the brush. So now take this one and let's go in to the mountains. I'm doing this very down and dirty for technical, reasons. There we are. Let's say I want to take my exposure. There we are. So it doesn't mean you can't change just like this one only. I mean, I can go in and pump the highlights up and bring the shadows down. See, I mean, I can do whatever I want with these. So, think locally a lot more maybe than globally because you can start sculpting images. And then there's the magic reset button. Bam, I screwed it all up. Now it's back to the way I had it. So let's look. Oh, we got plenty of time. Well, kind of plenty of time. So the masking, what I like about it is when you go in here, there's another one where this one will select just sky, but then there's one that will select subject. So let me go up here. Like I like to use speed lights, or sorry, studio lights outdoors, where I can go in and I expose my scene for ambient light with people. So I make my background darker. And then I light up my subjects with flash. And that was after, so I need to go the other way. This is how I edit too. I talk to myself. I literally do. So don't think I'm just talking because there's people, but I talk to myself all the time. I'll go the other way. So let's go down. Let's do, let's do this. Ricky says, make sure to show the subtract in the event. Yes, that's what I was getting, Ricky. Hold your horses, man. In event that the AI isn't very smart. Yes, the AI is not very smart. It sometimes just gets all wonky. Okay, let's do this one. So let's say for, I didn't use my little flash here, but let's say I'll show you two things here. What I like to do is, like, let's say I like the exposure on my subject. I really don't, but let's say I do. I can go in here, tell it to select subject. And AI, there we are, bam, selected it pretty well. But let's say I don't want them selected, right? I said I like the exposure, so I don't want to change them when I change the background. Come up here to this wonderful button, invert. Bam, there you are. So everything is inverted now. So now I can come up here, and if I wanted, I can make my background darker, and they'll pop off the back. So, oh, Ricky says, LOL, me and you think too much alike. That's why we get along so well, Ricky. So see, I mean, why? That can be a lot harder if you want. I mean, I can go in here. So let's take this and just delete. You can click on this and delete it with the backspace on the keyboard. I mean, if I really want to, I get all stupid and crazy and go in here with a brush and sit here and have it, find my edges for me. Another quick tip. I think that's going to be more than like 5 tips, but that's okay. But you can go in here. Oh, I can't find it now because I'm 10 feet away from the monitor. But I can go in here if I really wanted and do this old dumb thing all afternoon. I can. People do. That's fine. To each their own. I don't like to tell anybody to do it a certain way if anybody knows me, but I can go in and do that if I want. I'm not going to. Work smarter, not harder. So, then you can go in and, like, let's say I do like my background and it's perfect. So I'm going to go back up in here. Let's delete that one. I'm going to go back into here And I'm going to select my subject. There we are. Let's say, then I can go back into exposure and brighten that up if I want. So I mean, or I darken them if I want, whatever. But I try to balance my flash with basic light, or well, background light, or ambient light. That's the word I'm using. I should be using. So, I mean, that's something. Well, I mean, it's easy. You can do this now. It works better with people, but I always like to test the limits of things, and let's do that. So let's go in here, and let's go back to Glacier. Like, who knew we could go to all these places in one night? You know what? Let's try this. Horrible picture, but it is what it is. Let's go into develop again. There we are. So let's try and see. Usually if from the reading I did, and I don't read a lot, but it's one of those things where they say it tries to find the biggest subject or whatever's filling the frame. I think the background and the foreground and middle ground fills the frame here. So let's push to the limits of this thing. Let's select subject. Come on. Oh, it worked. Okay. Well, Ricky said a little bit ago, show them how to minus, or subtract. Sometimes AI will select outside where you want it to be. Or let's say for some reason you didn't want this part selected. So now I got this selected. I can come down here, hit this little plus tool, and add a brush, or I can hit that and go into a brush. And see how the middle of my brush is now a negative or a subtract? That means I'm going to subtract. So I can go in and take things away. I don't know why it's not working. Maybe it is. I'm red-green colorblind, so I have problems. There it is working. I have problems seeing red. So see, I could take the back of this off, of that hay bale, but only leave this area. So like, let's say this side was, this is the highlight side, this is your shadow side. But let's say for some reason you wanted to bring that highlight side down a little bit. I can change this side. Oh, or I can bring it up. So, it's a good thing. Thank you for bringing that up, Ricky. That was another fun thing. So I can click that again and bam, it's gone. So masking, it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's other ways to mask, in theory, if that's what you want to call it. What is this? Nah. You're seeing all the junk. See, there is proof that I take cruddy crap. Let's see here. Yep. Some days I sit and wonder, like, what the hell were you thinking? But that's why I always tell people, don't change or take multiple angles, multiple things. And what you think is good today is probably not good tomorrow. So let's find something else. So we're at a half hour. So let's go. Nope. I want to find something round, something radial. Let's use a picture of my kid. I don't know if it's going to work well, but whoops. That's what happens when you get all click happy. There we are. So let's say this picture of him, a rock skipper extraordinaire at Glacier. I'm going to go back and develop here. There are other things in here too, like the linear gradient or the radial gradient. Boy, I cannot talk. So let's circular. So see where that red is? It's only going to affect that area there. So if I want, I can go in and do that thing. If I wanted, I don't know why I would do that on this image, but it's something. The other thing that's nice, I can click into this, and sometimes you got things that are round or oval. You can click these little points on the edge. Bring them in. Affect just certain areas. Let's do this. I can find it. I think it was the same day. Here we are. So like this area right here, it's very dark. You can use the radial. Whoops. I can go into here. Drag it right over. And now lighten that whole area up. But let's say I don't want to brighten with exposure. I just want to open up the shadows. Bam! Look at that. I affected only the shadow areas. Now you can actually frickin' see what it is. So you can go in and darken it up, you know, or take your blacks down, whatever. Come and bring my contrast up, whatever I want to do. So it's one of those things is, you know, this works pretty well. I don't use this one a lot. I probably use, you know, let's do this now that I'm working out. Like, let's say we got that done. Whew, we love that. I don't, but let's go back in here. And now let's take our, oh crud, there we are. Our linear gradient. So now I want to work on just the sky. Bam. I'm going to go in here, bring my exposure down. It's kind of hazy, so dehaze is going to take that out. There we are. Perfect. Now let's say I think this area is too bright. I'm just going to go in, add another gradient from the left. Let's bring our exposure down. There. Now the other cool thing with this too is you can change just the white balance. So let's go back up here. I'm going to select this one in the sky. Let's say we want to warm the sky up. Let's take our white balance up. There we are. It's not so cool. I could also then come down here. Let's go back, click this guy, and let's say that's a little cool. I want to make it a little warmer. It's a lot more inviting to me. There we are. So there. I mean, you can do that. Now, the other thing, too, is if you got areas that are too dark, you can go in and brighten areas up. So you can use all these things in conjunction with each other. So that's kind of one of the things that I like to do a lot. I will mostly work in certain areas. A lot of people will ask me, where do I start? What's my workflow? Like, let's reset this image. Let's say I just come up on this image for the first time. I decide I think it's worthy of doing something. I don't say like, oh, some people start at this panel and go down. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. So I look at this image and the first thing I notice is obviously foreground, front and center, my subject in theory is kind of dark. Well, how do I fix it? How do I want to fix it? Well, I need to brighten it up. So yeah, I could do this thing. Okay, but look, it just changed everything. I don't want that. I just want to select the subject. So that's where I'm like, okay, globally versus locally. So let's reset this. So I'm like, okay, I want to affect this. And do I want to go here all afternoon tediously painting this in? If I have time, I could, but I won't. Work smarter, not harder. So I'm just going to go up here and then click on my radial gradient. Go in here and do my thing. Let's say once I got that all happy, I warmed it up. Oops, wrong one, sorry. There we are. I've warmed it up. Now it's done. Now I look at this and say, what's the next thing I don't like? Well, I don't like the sky. So then I worked on the sky, kind of like how I just went through it here a moment ago. I just roll things and work through things as I see them. I will usually leave an edit, sit around for a while, and I'll come back and look at it later because, like I always say, what looks good today doesn't look good tomorrow. So now, let's see. It is 8:36. So let's... Let's talk about, I'm kind of all over the place. I missed it. I went to masking, but Ricky was horrified, just horrified by my organization. These are not really organized by any means. I just know where they are. I need to get through and organize some stuff eventually, but let's go back up into library. And what I like to do is I keyword the shit out of things. I don't know if YouTube's gonna like that. Oh well. But what I do is I can go in, and one thing that I like is I can go in here and I keyword. So my keywords are tags. You can go into this keyword box, so I can type in glacier, national park, commas are key, because if not, it considers it all one keyword. And then I can type in, I don't know why St. Luke's came up. Then I could type in, I don't know, lake, comma, mountains. So later, this is saved. Boom. They're up there. So now what I can do is when you're in the library, click this little arrow. I'm going to hide that. I can go back to my grid. And let's say I can go up here to text. And type. Let's see what happens. Lake. Ah, look at that. See how that one photo came up as lake? If I had 20 photos or 1,000 photos in here, I could type in lake and it'll show me all my lake photos. Or I like to use this. If you've taken a Lightroom class with me before, you've probably found that, let's say somebody calls me, like our Iowa, they want images. They throw out and say, we need winter pictures. Okay, I can go in here and type in winter, comma. That'll pull up everything I've ever tagged winter. But let's say I don't want everything. I want my final edited images that I would send in for submission for publication. What would I do? I always tag one when I'm done editing and it's final. I call it final image. So I type in final image, comma, barn. That will show me every frickin' barn photo I've ever taken. That's finally edited. It will never be edited again, more than likely, unless something spectacular happens with Lightroom or some cool new tool. But that's it. But then let's say they're looking for, I don't want winter barns and spring barns per se. I need fall stuff. So then I type in fall. I tagged it fall, barn, final image. But let's say I took a barn in Wisconsin. I've been known to frequent Wisconsin. Well, Iowa magazines don't want Wisconsin barns. Now, would they? No, probably not. But that's the way I work, and I want to make sure I'm giving them what they expect they're getting. So now I've got Wisconsin barns, Nebraska barns, Iowa barns, all 3 barns from 3 states. So now I type in barn, comma, fall, comma, final image, comma, Iowa. Boom. Now I have only barn photos that will never be edited again that are in the fall. That's how I do it. I remember things, places. I don't remember dates. I just leave all that be. But that's kind of a quick, whoops, there we are. That just makes too much of a mess. I don't like fiddling and changing places and where things live. So let's look at, profiles. I don't know if anybody uses profiles. So in your camera, you can select a profile like landscape or portrait or whatever. If you're shooting raw, it really don't much matter because it's in the metadata per se, but it's not, what do I want to say, permanently like there. You can change it. So when you go into, let me go back into, bring that down, there we are, develop. I work in all raw photos. So you'll see these profiles, Adobe Color, Adobe Landscape. I don't like Adobe profiles. In my opinion, they're meant to genre across the entire world of cameras, Nikon, Sony, Pentax, Canon, Hasselblad, whatever. They got to have something that kind of works for everything, so it's like a generic profile. But when I shoot a landscape in the back of all my Nikons, D850, Z6 II, I will select profile of landscape. Now what that does is it's got its little fine tuning in the camera and so much contrast, so much color boost, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes you'll be like, what I see in the back of my camera is not what I see in Lightroom. Well, that could be 2 things. One, calibrate your monitors. If you're not calibrating monitors, it's well worth to go spend a couple $100 to buy a monitor calibrator and do it however you see fit. I do it every month. That's just how I do it. Zyman already tended to like that. Then I get my colors right on the screen. Then I get my density correct, and I know it's fine. Well, then I'll still be like, it still doesn't match the back of the camera. Well, guess what? Right here. So there's one called Camera Landscape. See how it darkened it up? I don't like that, but that pretty closely matched my back of my monitor on the camera better. So you can go through and change these. I mean, you can totally, if you want, you can go camera standard. And I don't like camera standard from Nikon. I don't like to use the monochrome if it's in there. Like camera neutral, very flat. But you can change these like Adobe. That's an Adobe monochrome, but nah, I don't do my black and white that way, but that's another day. So I'll use like camera landscape. Now I got it. Like the simplest thing you can do in the entire world, to be honest, is go in, just select one of those I don't want to call them a preset, what do you call it? profile and go from there and select the profile. And then I wouldn't consider that to be done. I'm always editing and doing plenty of things. So we got what time? 8:42. I want to leave this open for questions. So let's hit number 5. I call them the arrows on a histogram. So I don't know what they are. Ooh, look, see, when I hover over to the left, there's this little arrow, I click it. I don't see any color come up, but see when I click the arrow above here, bam, that's showing me that I have no detail in my sky there in the highlights. So I can click that. I do that first sometimes, not always. And that'll tell me like, oh, okay, I got issues right there. But what can I do? Well, I can bring my highlights down. It's gone for the majority of it. That's really taking the highlights down. But if I want, I could take that out. Because in theory, the sky is highlights. Or I could take my exposure down, which why would I? Because now everything else gets darker. So if I wanted, that's telling me there's no detail in the sky there. What do I do? What do I do? Well, I can bring it back. How is the next question. I can go back in here to my gradient, stretch this puppy down. Think of this gradient as if you're familiar with camera filters. It's just like a gradient neutral density filter. So I can go into here and bring down just the exposure and not fiddle with this part. And I don't have to worry about it. Now, the other cool thing is you can change these and stretch them out, whatever I want to do. You know, if I want, I can stretch it all the way down, pull it back up. Just know that the farther you stretch this, you get more of a gradient. If I go like really, let's go here. See how that got, let's go here and let's really screw this up. See how that's got a really hard edge? Just like a hard edge grad. But watch, when I pull this down, it kind of fades off. So let's get rid of that. But that is the simplest thing in the world. I mean, if you're just trying to figure out, let's see if we can purposely screw this up. How do I want to screw this up? Let's go this way. Let's take my exposure. There we are. So according to this, there's no detail there in the blues. You can click those to show them. Like, let's say for some reason, like, there, now it says that's fine. The rest of it's too damn dark. But that's just screwing up. But so that's where you can that's a quick and easy way just to see what you got going on there. You can click it and it will show you all of them. And that's where it's at. Or you can leave them unclicked however you wish. So we talked about knowing where your photos live, always super important. So you're not cleaning the computer up and go delete, delete, delete. And before you know it, you have exclamation upon exclamation point. Now, if you can restore those images and you haven't permanently deleted them, yes, you can go back in and find things. Then we have the keywording and the organization kind of thing. You know, keywording, you can help organize that way. You can organize by stars and all that stuff too, but I don't. And then the masking, I think the masking is like your biggest like wow factor tool when you want to work on just certain areas, make things pop, you know. Oh, let me see. I want to leave it open for questions. I could be here all night showing you things. And then profiles. I think that's the easiest way. Now, what I would do first, I should have mentioned this, is if you're going to do the profile thing, select your profile first. So you don't edit it and then do the profile and it makes it horrible looking. You know, might make it darker or brighter or whatever. And it kind of like washes your edits and you're like, why? So do that first and then go through and edit from there. You'll notice a couple times tonight I clicked auto. That isn't, in my opinion, it's not cheating. It's working smarter. Just see what it does. You might not like it. 90% of the time I don't like it. I really don't. So let's throw a bonus one in. Like let's say you did this and you didn't like it. Just hit reset. Or if you got multiple images in a row, like this one, and I don't know, that one, I don't know. And you can see how much I just take pictures and have truly random ones. But let's say these were slightly different. If you hold down, I think it's Command on your Mac, and then click these, see that? I can go in here and you'll see how this sync pops up. I can click sync. Here's another bonus thing. Everything I changed or edited, or whatever you want to call it, I can check and I can synchronize all those across. I do that with weddings and portrait sessions if I do them, because why edit one photo? Like I do a lot, I don't do cropping in camera, or sorry, crop in camera with Zoom versus photo or Lightroom. Jesus. What I'll do is I will do it that way where I'll zoom in, crop, I have all these images that are vertical, really wide, medium, all these different shots. Well, why sit here and edit the damn things? Putting the same stupid thing in 18 times across. Just edit one, sync, bam, done. And then you can go in and you can crop and do whatever you wish. So, and then we talked a little bit about the profiles and the little clickies on the histogram. So let's leave this open. We got like 10 minutes. Oh, one thing I should mention is next week, before I forget, next week I will be back here as always, 8 to 9, and we will talk about just 5 essential pieces of gear that I always take with me. And then if you want, you can throw in the comments next week too, your essentials of gear. So we'll have a fun conversation about gear, because everybody loves gear. And then if you haven't already listened, head out to the nextshoppodcast.com. I launched, is that the 3rd of October? Chris Woolley is popping on the 17th, I think. October 17th, I'll have his interview, if that's what you want to call it, between me and him, talking about headshots and photographing headshots and all that good stuff. If you are interested, send me a direct message through my direct message me through my Facebook page. I thought about offering possibly sometime once the weather goes south and we all don't get out and go photograph, a half-day workshop on Lightroom. I just have to find a location. So I will go into all this and more in detail. And what I'm thinking about doing is we do a 4-hour, 9 to 1 or something. Local coffee shop if I can find a room. We can have coffee, have all that fun stuff, eat whatever. And what I want to do is have you guys bring images if you choose to and say, I can't do this. And I will show you for an hour and a half or so how I would edit it or what you want done to it. Say, make this pop better, and I'll show you how to do it. But then I'll go through a lot more in-depth in Lightroom. So I think that's a class that's going to be great for intermediate people as well as some basic users or never users of Lightroom before. The other thing that I also want to mention, because I don't have enough things to do on Saturdays, starting January of 2023, I got to find a location here first. But I am going to go and I'm going to do what I call coffee and clicks. So it's going to be, I don't know, hour, 2 hours in the morning on a Saturday, once a month, not every Saturday, once a month. And I did this about 3 years ago before the pandemic started. And I had 9, 10, 15, 13, 20 people at times. And we all just sat around, had coffee or whatever you choose to drink, and just have fun, talk photography. I mean, I know a lot of people learn stuff like, I'm shooting eagles and I can't get this. And then I pipe in and somebody else pipes in. And it's just kind of like a roundtable discussion. If you're interested in I have a private group that's hidden on my Facebook page for this. If you're interested in it, shoot me a DM again and I'll add you to that. Oh, what else do I have going on? Because I don't have enough to go on. Let's just talk about fall colors real quick. If you're out and about, fall colors are popping. I was up whiskey. Ricky says whiskey. I could, but then I could. Yeah, I guess we could find some worth whiskey. I don't want to go to a bar though. I don't know any coffee shops that have whiskey though. Fall colors are popping here and there. I was in Dubuque this afternoon doing a family session, then dropped some gear off to Ricky, and the colors there are popping pretty good. So I'm excited for Northeast Iowa next week. A lot of stuff up by Walker wasn't popping this morning, but the stuff at Palo, man, it's very sectioned in places, so get out and find that. Ricky says he'll bring the shooters. We'll all get in trouble. So yeah, so if you're out there, just remember coffee and clicks. I cannot talk today. Is coming up. We'll start doing more of the lives again. Maybe get some classes in the works. If you guys got an idea for classes, send me over. I need something to do this winter. So let's leave it to questions. Does anybody have a question? It's 8:52. So any questions of anything I did or didn't do? There's 10 of you out there. Come on. Somebody's got a question. I know it. Guys make me beg for questions every week. Or if you even have any comments about how of a hot mess I was this evening, I apologize. Oh, no questions at all. Nothing. Oh, let me see if I can find something else here. And I don't want to get into that. or that, or lens corrections. Well, if I get into any of this stuff, I'll get all crazy and be here for 2 more hours. Oh, that's what I forgot. Boy. Do you use the histogram much? No, to be honest. I look at it. I mean, I could. I probably use it more camera just looking. I'm an eyeballer, man. It's probably horrible, but I just I go with my gut. I am a gut instinct photographer. I literally shoot at the hip. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'll put everything on the tripod and I look at the histogram and I expose to the right or I expose to the left. I just, from knowledge of just running in and screwing up for the last 17 years at this point, I think, Jesus, I think so. God, I feel old now. But I mean, yeah, it's a tool you can use in your photographer's toolbox to figure out things, but I eyeball it, man. Like, I know what my camera can and cannot do. Yeah, Ricky says I don't use the Lightroom histogram, but I use the histogram in camera a lot. That's if I do use it, it's in camera versus exactly than Lightroom. But I'm a gut instinct person, man. I go in, I will look at something. I use the blinkies as I call them. It's highlight warnings on my Nikon. I'm always worried about highlights. I don't want anything blown out to the point where I can't fix it. I know what my cameras can and cannot do, how far I can push them, how far I can underexpose before I have issues, how far I can overexpose and bring it back in Lightroom. And then I roll with that. It's just all basic knowledge. That's just kind of how I do it. I always have done it that way. Lots of trial and error. And I always tell people you have this filing cabinet in your brain. Just file things away, what you've screwed up, and you'll remember. Always remember the screw-ups. Never remember the good stuff, but you'll remember, oh, God, I did that. Like, I know I can push my camera a couple stops, probably be fine, or more, but I don't choose to. So it's just knowing things like that. I mean, if you want, the histogram is for great tools if you're learning. Don't like I'm poo-pooing on the histogram, like it's never going to, like, don't use it. It's a great tool to use. Any other questions? Or if you have any ideas, too, for lives coming up, I will start probably here next probably a week or so. This last week is hell, and this week is hell. So it's been busy lessons, and I'll be in Muscatine. Oh, that's what I meant, and I got distracted. Tomorrow, I will be at Lynn Area Photo Club talking about Flash. Well, actually demoing Flash. So if you're curious about that, swing on down. I think it's at IBEW Hall across from Fairway on 16th Avenue here in Cedar Rapids. And you can come for free, I believe. If you're thinking about joining, you can come for like 2 meetings free, see what it's all about. So I'll be there doing some Flash stuff, and we'll do there. But so if you got ideas for a podcast, I'll be scheduling, lives in the next couple weeks. So if you got anything you want to see in particular that you want to hear me drone on about, let me know. Feel free to email me at justin@tedfordphoto.com. Oh, let me mention this. So on the podcast, if you are interested in me answering your questions in a podcast, I might do that every once in a while. If you go to the I cannot figure out anything tonight. Nextshoppodcast.com. That's a little world it lives in amongst all the other places. When you go in there, there's a little microphone. You can click that and record your question, and I get the audio file and I can listen to it. It's super cool. And then if you like me droning on and you want to help me, like Dawn says, get coffee or have a lot of coffee or no coffee at all, I hate doing it, but there's a little link on there you can click and buy me a coffee if you want. There, I said it. So it keeps me energized to keep going with all this stuff. So that's kind of a fun thing. But I got a couple reviews. Ricky left me one. I think Connie left me one. So episode 1 was just me droning on is what I should say, about how I became a photographer, why I do what I do in the podcast, and why I do, I guess, all this stuff, because I'm all about education. So, well, it is 8:57. If nobody has a question, I'm going to wrap this puppy up for this evening. If you haven't been following me on Facebook, please do that as well. I'm out there doing something somewhere. So awesome. Well, I'm going to wrap this puppy up if I don't see any questions in the next 5 seconds, and hope to see you all tomorrow. Saturday, next Saturday. Come back next Saturday. Yes, and Connie just hugged me for come see me. Yes, it is at IBEW Hall, 211 Wiley Boulevard. You're welcome, Mary. So Awesome. Well, again, oh, thanks, Barbara. You are welcome. How great job. I don't know. It hasn't been, I've been too hot tonight. But not as good as I usually am, but it is. We're all allowed to have bad days. So I'm overbooking myself. That's what I'm doing. Stretching myself way too thin between a 40-hour week job and this. Don, Fish Love. Oh, thank you, Don. I want to thank Don, like in front of everybody. Don, not that you guys not all support me, but Don has been an awesome supporter since like day one of me doing lots of things. So thank you, Don. So awesome. We are, well, lots of you have been supporters, and I thank you for that. So it is 8:58. I'm going to sign off. Hey, Paul, I didn't know you're on here. Awesome. Thumbs up from Paul. Paul's an awesome photographer, too, is one of my customers at PhotoPro, as long I think many of you, Barbara, Mary, Connie, Ricky is just a pain in my butt. Huge inspiration. You don't have to say that one, Don. I do not feel that way. I think I said that in my podcast, but let's see who else was on here. There's everybody's comments. So awesome. Well, again, thank you guys very much. Keep going out, exploring, find things to do, photograph. If you got questions, you know where to find me. And have a good evening.